Hello, in this short informative video, we will talk about the principles of physics in swimming.
Did you know that physics can help you to swim in the right way and also help you to be the fastest? Here we will explain how.
Let's start with buoyancy. What is the reason for this?
We need to know the law of Archimedes. This law will help us understand how we manage to float, discovered by Archimedes, Greek mathematician and inventor, and it tells us that any body immersed in a fluid at rest receives a force which is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the body. The weight of the displaced portion of the fluid is equivalent to the magnitude of the buoyancy force. Now, to explain this in a simpler way, when a body sinks, it will displace the fluid until the weight of the fluid it's displacing is equal to the weight of the object. Thus, is to understand that the object will apply two forces, one that pushes from above, gravity, to the object, another that pushes it from below, buoyancy force. When the weight of the object in the fluid is less than the buoyant force, then it is said that the object is floating. When the weight of the object is greater than the buoyant force, then the object will sink in the fluid. In swimming, some elements that can influence are water density, thoracic perimeter, muscle tenacity, body weight, etc.
Did you know people with more fat can float more easily compared to people with muscle mass?
Now, thanks to a well-known science, we will be able to understand another basic but important principle. We are talking about Newton.
Really?
Yeah, Newton throughout his law gives many explications. Let's see, Newton's first law tells us that a body remains in the state in which it is until a force is applied. Thus, the body to stay at a constant speed is applied a force of inertia. When swimming, we use a force to swing forward, which is reduced by a force of resistance provided by the water. The greater the force of resistance of the water, the greater the force that must be applied to have a constant speed. This means that when we swim, there is a force that goes against the direction in which we are swimming. Therefore, strokes and kicks are used to maintain this speed.
Tips. One way to reduce this frontal resistance is to keep your head aligned with your body.
The second law tells us that the greater the force applied, the greater the acceleration. This may explain why some swimmers can be faster than others. It also explains the importance of why at the beginning of the competition, we dive or push from a wall size by applying this force. A speed is maintained, which helps to achieve acceleration without applying so much force. The opposite of what will happen if we were to start swimming for a body at rest, which would imply more force to reach a certain acceleration.
And finally, the third law indicates that for action there will be a direction of equal magnitude but in the opposite direction. This applies all times when swimming, because when pushing the water, this will push you with the same magnitude but in the opposite direction, making the water to push back, push you forward, thus explaining why the strokes and kicks are that force to swim. In order to talk about the propulsion during the swim, we will go hand in hand with Bernoulli's principle, which tells us that in fluid, when the speed increases, the pressure decreases and vice versa. In this part, we look for no movement in the fluid. In this way, the pressure will not increase and the speed will be the opposite of this. It also indicates that the propulsion is not when the fluid flows over the hands, it flows at a higher velocity over the knuckles than under the palm. This causes a differential pressure between the palm and the knuckles that produces a lifting force. When this lifting force interacts with the force of resistance to the advancement of the hand through the fluid, in this case, water, which it exerts of the hand, the result is of a force that propels the swimmer's body forward.
Now there is also a principle which can speak for nivel, and the techniques to be used. This is the law of the square of the speed signs. The principle tells that when the speed doubles, the resistance rises to the square. Applied to the subject, when one dives to a higher height, increasing in speed, the resistance applied by the water will also increase. Now, you know how physics influences the sport. Review these principles and become the fastest swimmer.